Hi, this is Alex Helmbrecht, and I'm joined with Daniel Binkard, my co-host, as always, and welcome to the FARcast. Our guest today is Christine Fullerton, one of my great friends here at CSE, and also, I'm not afraid to say this, the best librarian I know.
Oh, thanks.
Christine is a public services
At least top 3.
Well, you're top 10 at least. But for those who don't know, Christine is a public services librarian at CSE.
That's right.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Now, tell us a little bit about yourself, Christine. How long have you worked at CSE, and what are some of your duties here? Public services librarians, kind of like...
Yeah, what does that mean?
It's kind of like our title. It's a little vague, which is
Yeah, a
probably
little
intentional.
nebulous. So, yeah, I've been here, let's see, I came here in 2006. So coming up on 17 years, I guess. I actually moved here the weekend of the fires.
Oh, that's a good weekend to come in. Yeah, crazy time.
It was a weird time. It was weird to kind of be unpacking your truck, and then I thought, oh, are we going to be down at WNCC? Is the campus? Luckily, that didn't happen, but yeah. So that's an easy marker to remember.
Oh, yeah,
exactly when
definitely.
I started.
Definitely.
Was the Monday after the fires. So I do reference, which is basically helping people with doing research, questions about citations, things like that. If people want to check out a book and they want some suggestions, I do that. Another thing that I do is I do some instruction sessions, so going to talk to classes and showing them how to use some of the databases, talking some about like research strategy and those things. And then probably one of my favorite parts of my job is doing interlibrary loan, which is a lot of fun. It's where we can get books for our patrons from other libraries across the nation. Occasionally I'll get stuff from overseas. There was a Professor T. Smith was doing some stuff from South Africa, and so that was fun to try and track that stuff down. And then also we'll lend to other libraries. So it's, a nice system, a nationwide system that I really enjoy doing.
Yeah, that's cool. Now, you mentioned citations.
Sure.
The bane of many students' existence, probably. Yeah. But why is there so many different versions? There's MLA, APA, what's the other one? Like Chicago style?
Chicago style, I think the Geological
Brooklyn
Society.
Style, basically any type of pizza.
Yeah, Turabian, Geological Society. I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, you would think at some point somebody would try and codify and standardize it. I don't know. I've never really had that question before. I've never thought about it.
Well,
but it would be easier.
So I was an English major, and when I went through my undergrad, we did MLA.
Yeah.
And then you transition into graduate school, and you have to do APA. Mm-hmm. And the transition hasn't been very smooth.
Oh. Well, but I bet you've noticed that, because you probably kind of knew it, off the top of your head at the end, but... there's a lot of new tools for citations. Like if you look into EBSCO, there's the tools on the side, and you can just the computer will pretty much generate a perfect citation for you.
Oh, yeah. Which is to take advantage of all that technology we've got.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful thing.
To get out of the dark ages.
Yeah, I mean, it depends what resources you're using, but generally most of the databases are going to put it in order for you, and then you just have to double check it. But I mean, such a time saver.
Yeah, no kidding. No, good tip.
Yeah,
I figure the nice thing, Alex, these days, most of our citations are either Wikipedia articles or YouTube videos, so we only have to learn those two styles. There's really nothing else. We need the disclaimer on do not do this at home.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Well, and I always think Wikipedia is an awesome starting point for research. I'm not someone that thinks you should never use Wikipedia. It shouldn't be your ending point. But if that's where you want to start, I mean, it's just an encyclopedia, and there's all these studies that show it's just as reliable as Britannica or any of the other ones. And so I think especially when you're doing some college research, when you dive into the databases and some of the books, it can be so weighty, and it's hard to kind of get a foothold.
Yeah,
so with Wikipedia, I think it's great. You can get some search terms. You can get like a little bit of a background on the subject. And then it's just easier. So, yeah.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
Like you said, good starting point.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Just don't end there.
That makes it a lot more work, doesn't it? Well, Christine, tell us a little bit about your background. Where did you go to college? How did you get into this library business?
Sure. Yeah. So I grew up in Omaha, and I went to UNL for a few years, or a year and a half or so. And then I finished up at UNO in Omaha. And I was a sociology major. I was sociology with an emphasis in inequality. And, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do after I graduated. And so I think I ended up taking about a year off between college and graduate school. But after I graduated, I kind of thought, well, what do I want to do? And at that point, UNO had a master's in sociology, and so I was kind of thinking about doing that because I really liked the research aspect of that, but there's no jobs in that, really. I mean, maybe.
Probably a smaller field to get into.
But yeah, I mean, mostly if you're going to do sociology, you're probably going to teach or maybe do some research. So they ended up phasing out that program, like right when I would have applied for it, and I thought, what else do I like? And I talked to some of my professors, and I thought, I really like research. This seems like library science seems like a good thing for me. And so I applied for some schools, got some financial assistance, which is always nice, and decided to go out to University of Pittsburgh. I was a pretty big college basketball fan at the time, and they had a good basketball team.
Oh, nice.
And, it was a well-rated school, and, just kind of, I feel like they kind of did a master class of recruiting me. I went there, and they had like a whole day lined up, and it was just wonderful where, I could go sit in on classes, and I met professors, and then I also met students, and, they talked to me about job opportunities that I would have there. And, so they just really did a nice job of making it feel very, very much like home. And
that's great.
Yeah, and I just liked the area and just seemed like a good place to be. So that's how I ended up out there.
All right.
And then I do have a second master's from University of Denver too, which I did while here.
Okay.
What is it? It's like liberal studies with a concentration in global affairs. I should know that, but it doesn't roll off the tongue. Really.
Sure. It's a weighty subject, though, and certainly it kind of lends itself no matter what period we're in. I mean, look at the way the world is going right now. It's interesting times.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
So what made you want to get a second master's degree and maybe not pursue a doctorate?
Yeah. For my profession, it's just generally more encouraged to be a subject specialist. So the people that will get a doctorate are generally people that are going to be deans of like R1 libraries, so the big research libraries, or people that want to teach library science. So that just wasn't really my career trajectory. And I'm not even sure, the DU degree I could do from here. I didn't have to relocate or anything like that. So
yeah, that always helps.
Yeah, I don't know if I mean, at this point, you could probably do a PhD online from some places in library science. But, at that point, this was probably about 8 years ago that I did that. So 8 to 12 years ago.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So there might be a few misconceptions about the library. You have to be quiet or things like that. But it's really become a hub of activity on campus. And I think that you've been able to witness a lot of that firsthand. Talk a little bit about that. What are some of the programs that you try to bring in or that your colleagues try to do? And then just about the library in general. There's a lot of different nooks underneath that one building. So talk some about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things, and I know you've done some videoing of it, is the Graves Lecture. And that's probably...
Was it 2006 or even pre-2006?
It was probably about 2007 or so, because it launched while I was here. And so it was probably about 2007, 2008. So Milton and Sean really got that off the ground, and Sean is doing a great job continuing that. And I think a lot of times they're meeting over in the atrium now. But, it's sponsored by us, and it's a good intellectual pursuit for campus.
This is where we link to our Graves presentation. Well, mine. Yours isn't online, right?
I didn't record mine, but we've got a whole playlist.
Yes,
which will be linked down yonder there. we have recorded a lot of those Graves lectures. Well, it's certainly been just a wide variety of topics. Probably the best one was Daniel Binkard talking about photography. Or maybe it was Helmbrecht on sports information.
That's one of my favorite ones. I think about that one all the time. It was
You did a good
election
job with
night.
that. That's right.
And
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yep, election night 2016.
Went into that
And
day.
those are always like stressful nights, and so it was just nice. You were so, you're always so effusive about people that you care about. So listening to you talk about Con and Justin and everybody that helped you get to where you were, and Brittany and Bridger, and it's just it was a nice night. It was a nice night to not sit at the TV and just hear you talk about sports information.
Yeah.
You did that later that night and cried yourself to sleep a little bit, but
Maybe, yeah.
But anyway, we got off track.
We did.
What are some of the other programs? The Graves Lecture.
Yeah, one of the other ones that I like that we've done a lot was we've done art in the library a few times. So I think we're on our third cycle of that. And what we've done is we've just bought some canvases and some paints and worked with RLA to sponsor our program. And then we do a rotating student gallery. So, you don't have to be an art major. You don't have to have like grand ideas of what you're going to paint. You just have to come for that 2 to 3 hour window and paint something and let us have it for, 8 months. And we hang it up in the rotating gallery. And so that one's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We've also done some what I very colorfully called Fun Fridays. It's very, very creative.
Alliteration is key.
Exactly. I had gotten that idea. I went to an interlibrary loan conference down in, I think that one was in Estes Park, maybe. But they were talking about this program in Spokane at a public library, and it was like late nights at the library, and they would have guests, and it was this whole talk show. And I kind of ruminated on this for a few years or maybe a year, and I thought, we're never going to do something like that. But we could do like programming in the library, and like you said, kind of break down some of those misconceptions about the library, or just get to see the library in a different light. So we've done quite a few with those. We've done, we did live action Clue, which Will Atnip, one of the RAs at the time, really put it together and did a great job. We did Camp Library, which was a lot of fun, where we had students could play werewolf, or we played werewolf, and then students could play sardines. That game. It's like hide and seek, except one person is the hider, and then you all have to converge around them.
Oh, interesting.
So we did that when it was pretty dark. So that was a lot of fun.
Inside the library?
Yeah, just on second floor. So,
okay.
So on the first floor, we had some tent setups and books and all of that. You could go in the tent and read and just kind of hang out. And we did werewolf, that kind of card game, and we had s'mores.
Can't beat it.
Can't beat it.
Yeah.
So that one was a lot of fun. And then we had a lot of leftover s'more stuff. So midterm break midterm week right before COVID, we had surprise s'mores at the library where we just set up a microwave and microwave s'mores for students.
Those are the good times.
It was like a week before COVID. It's like 2 weeks later. It's like, oh, geez.
Yeah, that feels like a million years ago.
It really does. Just preparing food for people. It's like, here you go. Here's a plate.
I'm glad you mentioned midterms because I think it's always really cool, and I'm sure other colleges and universities do this, but the library shifts its hours midterms and finals week. Well, maybe not midterms, but definitely finals.
So we do finals in the week before finals.
Yeah, where you'll stay open until like 10, 11 at night, right?
So normally Monday through Thursday we're open till 10 anyway, and then on Sunday we're open till 9. And then the week before finals and finals week, we'll stay open till 10 on Sunday and then midnight, Monday through Thursday.
Yeah.
We started just kind of with a pilot, seeing out or trying out finals week, and then we found a lot of times the week before finals was busier. A lot of times there's group projects, and so people need a place to converge and work together. And so, so we've done it for those 2 weeks, and works pretty well.
Well, I love seeing all the groups over there working because when I was a student here, and probably similar to when you were, the chairs we're sitting on right now came from the library, and that's where everything was. And they're great chairs. They're not the most comfortable in the world. And stacks on top of stacks, and
Yeah.
so a lot of that has shifted, and now there's very comfortable chairs. I'm happy to report.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's comfortable chairs on every floor, but, second floor probably looks pretty similar to when you were a student there.
Yeah, there's a
Hasn't
computer
changed.
lab in the fishbowl. when I
Yeah,
was
that's
here.
true.
But yeah, other than that,
That's
it's not
true. But the
same.
stacks are still up there. But people that have come in the last 10 years or so, that have graduated 10 years ago and haven't been here, they come in and they're just like the openness of the
Yeah,
first floor
definitely.
really blows them away. And how many different entities are there now? We've got the Learning Lab and Transitional Studies and Career and Academic Planning Services and the IT Help Desk, Progress Drive Trio is there. So there's a lot of different, good student support
Yeah, that's great
things
to see.
in the building. Yeah. And the food pantry, too.
Yes.
That's there now.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that and that kind of thing. As you've mentioned a few of the activities that are associated with the library, is there anything else that comes to mind as a memorable thing that, of the past or still going on that you've been working on or that has kind of grown out of that library as its home base? If the food pantry is certainly one of those.
Oh, sure. Yeah. The food pantry was an interesting one because I think that idea had kind of been kicking around on campus a little bit. And, just the timing kind of worked out really well where, just a lot of pieces fell together when we did that pilot. I'd gone to the Oxfam banquet that Shonda French Collins does with her class and had talked to Ann Sundberg about their food pantry and was able to talk to her about maybe contributing some food for that. And so I think since the beginning, they've given 20 to 25 bags for each food pantry, which goes a long way. And then, it's something where Stephanie Glass had worked on trying to come up with a project plan, and I said that I would take over for her when she went to graduate school, and I'd try and make that happen. And so with the pilot, it was kind of hard, to create this huge food pantry out of like nothing.
Yeah.
Seemed like a hard thing to do. And she actually came back that December on break, and we were just, shooting and just talking about how her university had done it, and we just settled on, what would be a great idea is we'll just do a pop-up.
Yeah.
So that's what we did is for that first, that would have been, I guess, January 2020, we just did a pop-up in the entry of the library and, showed that there really is a need for that and that students would come and utilize it and that it made sense for our campus to offer that. And so, yeah, I think, and then we did one during COVID too. Well, we're still in COVID, but we ended up doing one in April because we thought, there's still tons of students on campus and also off campus. So, and then, it's really grown. That's been, I think, 2 years since Kate Pope took over. And her and Nate Cronin have been working on it this year. Shelley Freer's working on it while Kate's on maternity, but it's just really grown quite a bit. And so I think that first one that we had, maybe we might have had about 50 students. And now it's not uncommon for them to have 90, 100. And so it's, it's just been a pleasure to watch how much they've been able to grow that and to reach more and more students.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Always a good thing.
Now, Christine, I know this because I follow you on social media, but maybe you kind of mentioned the pandemic a little bit. And maybe as an offshoot of that, you have some fun. You bring in some sunshine to people's days and recreate famous art pieces.
Maybe. We'll see.
Or at least a few chuckles.
Hopefully some sunshine.
Yeah.
That's...
Talk a little bit about that. How did it start? And, what do you have planned for the future? Are you going to continue?
Well, I did some this weekend, so I'm still doing it. I don't know. I think especially in those early days, it was so hard to know what we should be doing and what.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I can remember crying when I was scanning a lab notebook because I thought like, oh, these students were friends and they're not going to see each other again, and just a lot of weird emotions of how do I channel this into something.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think there were a few, maybe a museum in, I'm going to say Belgium or the Netherlands had started this, where they just kind of encourage people to recreate the artworks from their museum because they were closed because of COVID. And I think the Getty in LA did this too. And I thought, that seems interesting. I'm going to try and do this, And I think we thought we'd be out of the pandemic in 2 weeks or a month. So I thought, I'm just going to commit to doing 30 days of this.
Ah, the olden days.
Yeah, the olden days. So I did 30 days, and then once about the time when I was getting vaccinated, then I thought I'll do some every few weeks or so until my brother's vaccinated or until some other people I care about are vaccinated. And then I started it up again with Omicron just because, I don't know, it's kind of a port in the storm, I guess.
Yeah, why not?
So yeah, I've had fun with it, and people seem to enjoy it. It's one of those things. Well, this. You're a photographer. Not that I'm comparing myself to you, but you spend a fair amount of time thinking about a shot and framing it, and then people consume it for maybe a few seconds or
we hope
maybe
for a few
minutes.
In some cases, it's a kind of a fast thing.
Yeah, but
as long as you're having fun with it too, that's also important.
I am. It's I think it's an interesting way to. I really like going to art museums, and obviously I haven't done that very much lately, and it's just an interesting way to explore art in a different way, and then also it's kind of just fun to like look at like objects and say, oh, I could use that for this, or think about, just some different framings, or you see something and it's like, oh, that looks exactly like this.
Yeah.
Like
incorporated in. Yeah,
I bought a house. I bought my first house, hopefully my last for a while, but anyhow, I bought a house this fall, and a few weeks ago, I came back from the pool, and there in the morning, and there was just a bird in my house. So somehow I was able to get a picture of it, and then I thought about this later, and I was like, oh, that looks a lot like the goldfinch.
Yeah.
So I'll just try and crop that and frame it somewhat the same. So just kind of an added dimension of looking at life in a slightly different way.
Oh, that's good. You got to have that.
Yeah, something.
What are a few of your favorites that you've done?
So probably Goya's Saturn devouring his son. That's a fun one. And then one that I really like that I'm not sure if my friends like that much was I did one of Rene Magritte's, and he's really famous for the Son of Man, which is the one with the derby hat and a person with like a Granny Smith apple in front of them.
Okay.
So I did one of his called The Lovers 2. And it took me a long time to figure out how to do it because there's two people in it. But, people just kind of thought, oh, yeah, she did that. It's like, I spent a lot of time figuring out how to, create the illusion of a man here.
Yeah.
But, people thought...
If it looks effortless.
They know what I'm doing. They know what I'm doing.
Maybe you'll have to try to recreate one that's on CSE's campus.
Yeah.
Maybe that could be the challenge that you leave this interview with.
Maybe. Well, you mentioned about a month ago you'd like to see a Vermeer.
I would.
So I have one in mind.
Okay.
I'm just waiting to get the right pieces together.
All right. Here we go. Challenge accepted.
Yeah. But I'd have to think. I mean, how would I do the muses? 3 people. How do you do that?
Yeah.
That'd be hard.
Unless you're splicing it together.
Yeah, that's true.
No cheating. One shot. Yeah, that is the challenge.
One of the things that really once I got a tripod that
not
that
when it's like the arm's length or anything.
Well, because I did arm's
camera.
length. It was a game changer. I did arm's length for a long time, or I would try and prop things.
Right.
But I got a tripod with a remote.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
can shoot things more than 5 feet away.
You know, I'm trying to, and this is just in my mind, I'm trying to think of CFC's art collection, and there really isn't a ton of portraits.
That's
Yeah.
true.
But one that you could do, you just would have to get a pig, is the shot that in the
it's a
hall
classic.
lobby that Dwayne loves.
That is I think that is Dwayne's favorite. We'll have to
Yeah.
get him on the FARcast here at some point and talk about that
we
piece.
will. It's a guy holding a balloon, and there's a pig.
And it's on these
Oh,
beautiful
okay.
pastel colors.
Yeah, it's really pretty.
Well, I mean, I have a balloon, I'm sure. And
You just need to find a pig.
Or you do something, you sub it in.
Oh, yeah, sure.
It doesn't have to be a pig.
Well, my kids have a blow-up donkey that might work.
There you go. There you go. Yeah.
They ride it around in the basement. But
If we get a snow day tomorrow, have Bridger come over.
There you go.
We'll just do some artworks.
That's all good fun.
Yeah.
So, any other hobbies outside of work to share with us? Or other interests, not just hobbies, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, theoretically, I like traveling, but who doesn't? I really love the pool that we have here in town, especially on days like this. I mean, it's so cold this week, I probably won't go to the pool, but, on these, like, cold winter days where it just feels like drudgery, and it's just so nice to go there, and it's 80 degrees and humid and, just huge, like, big, bright lights.
Yeah,
So,
nice change of pace.
Yeah, that's something where I'm really glad that the campus is supporting that and that went through, because goodness, that is a wonderful place in town.
Yeah.
All right, Christine, we've reached that point of the interview where we have questions. Just first thing that comes to the top of your head.
Oh, okay. All right.
There's 5 of them.
Okay.
What is a favorite sports team of yours?
All right. Obviously all the alma maters, and then the regional ones that we're supposed to like.
Okay.
But one that I really like, and it's probably partially just because it's a connection to my brother, is I really like Fulham, which is a soccer team in England. They're first in Championship right now, which is just a step below Premier League. But yeah, my family and I went to England and some other places in Europe about 5 years ago, and so we went to the opening game, Fulham versus Newcastle.
Oh, fun.
And so, yeah, all of us went to that, so that was a lot of fun. And then I think like 4 days later, we went to another game. So the first one we went to was at Craven Cottage, and then the other one we went to was at Leyden Orient Stadium, which it's cool. It's like a place that's been there since the 1880s, and I think they're like 5th division or so. But it was fun. It was like we they're not doing so well, so we got front row seats, and then just interesting to be with all these long-suffering fans of talking about.
Bet.
Yeah, so that one, and also Fulham's song is The Clash's London Calling, so
Great
that's
jam.
a lot of fun.
Yep.
But yeah, that's probably the one that would be the most unusual, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, it's a good experience. First concert you attended?
I think it was probably Possum Dixon, which was kind of an indie rock band in the 90s or so. That's the first one that I can remember going to, like, by myself. And then, a lot of my friends in high school were in bands, so there was pretty a time where I was probably going to, like, concerts, like, 3 to 5 times a week.
Nice.
And, just a lot of local concerts or some national ones. And I can remember going to see Brainiac, and there was like a tornado warning, and so we all had to shelter. It was an interesting night.
All
so,
right. Yeah.
But, yeah.
This is a very important one.
Okay.
What's a favorite kind of breakfast cereal? As opposed to a dinner cereal or a lunch cereal.
Well, those are different, There's snacking cereals and breakfast cereals. You can have, like, Reese's Puffs for breakfast, but you can have those for snacking.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, probably grape nuts. I really like grape nuts.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Grape nuts on ice cream is good.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure if I've had that. When I was a kid, I used to eat them just, like, raw. Mm-hmm. And then my mom, it drove her nuts, and she'd try and get me to do milk, and I just didn't want to. And then now I'll eat it with yogurt. But.
That's interesting. I like grape nuts raw, too.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I find it very intimidating.
I just like the crunch.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good crunch.
Yeah, absolutely.
You get kind of weird breath after eating it for a while, but
I guess just make sure you planned out your day accordingly.
yeah.
This makes me think I need
That's
to pick
interesting.
up some grape nuts. I haven't had them in a while.
I just have
Do the
to
breath check.
I eat them raw in the sneak though, because Brittany is weird about it too. She's like, "Well, you got to put milk in it." I'm like, no, they're
no.
fine the way they are.
Yeah, checking out the teeth.
Yeah.
There was that big grape nut shortage, like, I think, was it last summer or 2 summers ago? Right now you can't find saltines. You know this?
It's
I
gotten
did
weird.
because my son needed some a few weeks
He
ago.
was a little sick.
Yeah, but I found them at Dollar General.
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
That's what I heard. That's like the only place that has it. I
And-
should have gone there.
And now Grape Nuts and Dollar General's marketing office will be calling us because we've talked about their content more than we probably should have.
Oh, no, it's all free advertising. It's all good.
They're so popular, you can't keep them on the shelves.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
so delicious.
I don't think we're hurting anything there. How many times have you been to the top of Sea Hill?
Gosh, I've been on the trails a lot.
I think that counts. No, you don't have to go to the top, but,
Oh, yeah,
as long as
no.
you're in that vicinity.
I think I've been
water
to the
towers,
top
just-
once. I'm a little afraid of heights.
It's kind of
So I think I've only been up there once. I thought, I got to get up there. But the trails I've been to a fair amount. But, I'm a little worried about falling off into a canyon.
Yeah. And there
So-
are some steep parts up there. So it's a valid concern.
Yeah, I went over to Fort Robinson a few years ago, and I went up to one of the things, and I was like, I probably should have told people where I was going.
Those are high.
Yeah, and then I saw a mountain lion paw
Oh,
print, and I was
okay.
like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah, in the backcountry.
I'm gonna go home. This was probably a bad idea, but
Well, last but not least, Christine, what's your best advice for someone doing research?
I would say be patient. I think research is very much a journey, and for one thing, I think you have to be able to incorporate any information that you find and kind of synthesize it and think of how that would support or negate your conceptions. But also, I think we're kind of used to instantaneous answers. And research generally isn't like that. I mean, occasionally you can get that answer right away, but to really do in-depth research, you need to give yourself time. And I think also, with Google and with other things, you're pretty used to especially if you're just looking for a quick fact, you're going to get that right away. But if you're doing research and you're trying to come up with an answer to a question, then be patient, give yourself time, I would say.
And so basically, don't procrastinate.
Yeah. Well, and also just don't get frustrated.
Yeah, sure.
Just don't get frustrated. And don't think that you're alone in that. I think sometimes people can get frustrated and think, why am I not getting this right away? And it takes practice, and it also is a lot of trial and error. It's probably not just going to be that first hit that you get. You might have to go down to the 10th or 11th.
Great advice.
Down the rabbit hole. So for any
Yeah.
students watching, you're going to want to check in at the library, ask for Christine, or who else should they ask for at the library?
I mean, there's always going to be someone there that can help. The other librarians are Sean and Pam, but there's lots of part-timers too, student workers. So, come in and talk to any of us.
All good people.
Yeah, we try to
Perfect.
be.
Yep, absolutely. Well, thank you, Christine. So
Yeah.
much fun talking to you. And
Thanks for
really,
having me.
Really appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, thank you.